it doesn't bother me as much that they were called for illegal formation. It's that they then decided to swallow their whistle on obvious pass interference. So if you're determined to let them play at the end of a game and say, hey, you know what, man, I ain't seen nothing.
Look at this.
That pissed me off. I ain't a Commanders fan. I ain't a Commanders fan.
I mean, come on.
I ain't got skin in this game. I ain't got a dog in this fight.
I do, though.
That was whack. That was what. Oh, you bet your money?
Let me just put that out there, okay? Let me put that out there.
Your bet your money?
That kept me from a winning week, okay? They took money out of my pocket. That's good. Okay, just full disclosure, since it's family, we're all talking. But that's not the reason I'm upset. No, this time, but it wasn't their money this time. It was my money because while I was in Connecticut at the NBC Sports Holiday Party, I went over, sports betting is legal, so I said, hey, why not put my bet, your money into action, and I'll do my bets. I put money on it. So, bruh, they took money out of my pocket.
We gotta talk, man. You ventured into degenerate status. This went from a gimmick to Don't be like Shorty walking down the street with your hand like this, talking about, you know what I'm saying?
Blink.
Asking Blink for money.
Blink.
That's it.
Look up at the screen. Is that it?
That's it. Yeah, that's it. Now zoom in real close. If you can zoom in somehow.
We ain't got all that. Damn, dog. I'm just saying. I'm talking about zoom in.
We're gonna do this shit. We doing this on the iPhone. We got an iPhone here.
Trying to keep the lights on, but this is brother from another. What you think this is, man? It's a black show, man. We ain't got this kind of resources.
What is wrong with you, man? What?
Valedictorian from your high school doing the dumbest stuff you've ever heard of. Like, if somebody says, you won't believe some of this something just went down the other day. It was so stupid. And it was so-and-so. Now everybody got a picture in your head of who that would be from your high school. If something dumb happens, you say, oh, I know who did that. But the Patriots have never been that. The Patriots haven't been that team for a generation. So it is really significant that this team, the straight A student, the smart kids, we know more than you do. We prepared for it before you even thought of it. That team, the team that has specials, Do Your Job, Part 1, 2, and 3, to keep the Isley Brothers theme going, would have a stupid play. And I just wanted to just really speak on what it's supposed to be once you go through a dynasty. What's supposed to happen on the other side of that? And I think that's what the Patriots are experiencing right now, and you have a variety of opinions. If you're in New England like I am, you hear people saying things like, hey, it's time for Bill Belichick to go. He's just holding on. He's not the same without Tom Brady. They need a fresh start. I mean, this is talk we haven't heard in New England since Bill Belichick took the job in January of 2000. So we're almost talking about 23 years ago, on the verge of 23 years ago. I want to give you a couple of things here, just so we can put this whole conversation in context, to know where we were and understand where we are now with the Patriots. At one point, the Patriots had a streak going, a division title streak of 17 division titles in 19 years. 17 division titles in 19 years. In the 2 years, check this, in the 2 years that they didn't win the division, they tied for it. So 1 year, 2002, they don't win it. They're 9-7, and the division winner was the Jets. They were 9-7. Another year, 2008, they don't win it. They were 11-5, and the division winner, Miami, was 11-5. This is a team, an organization that has been so confident, some say arrogant, that when they finished a regular season, first time in NFL history, somebody went 16-0 in the regular season. They had a banner up, 16-0 regular season. Then they took it down. They took down the banner because they were embarrassed that 16-0, that the postscript came with a loss in the Super Bowl to the Giants. So they were too above hanging a 16-0 banner in their stadium, the only team in football that could say something like that. And I'll tell you, I'll make it personal. Here's a personal story. So I got 3 kids. We have 3 kids. I didn't deliver them. I was there. I didn't deliver them. But we have 3 kids. And so the middle one was born in 2010. That means every year of his life, the Patriots were in the divisional playoffs or conference championship game for the first 8 years of his life. First 8 years of his life, it was divisional playoffs or conference championship game. It got to the point, I remember he was like 5 or 6 years old, and he said to me in September, this is like first day of school. We're driving to school, and he says, hey, Daddy, are you going to the Super Bowl again this year? I said, well, son, it depends on the Patriots go. This is not guaranteed that they go to the Super Bowl. And she said, oh, yes, it is guaranteed. Yes, it is. It's guaranteed because that's all he knew. As a matter of fact, he was a part of a NBC Sports Boston did this little video with 8 and 9-year-olds. So this is when he was 8, and they had been in 8 straight conference championship games. So the whole bit was these 8-year-olds, that's all they know. Patriots in the conference championship. And a 9-year-old says, oh, y'all spoiled. It wasn't always like this. So I just want to set that context for you to see where we are now. They're 7-7. They have a bottom 10 offense. People are talking about Belichick maybe past his time on the job. What do we do with this? Are they really a bad organization? Or is it just relative to what they were? I would suggest Shalise Manza-Young, who's the perfect one to talk about this because she knows. She covered the Patriots. She has been in this area, so she knows where I'm coming from. I would suggest, Shalise, that this is just what normal life is for most NFL teams. You go into every Sunday and you have no idea what's going to happen. Your team could play great. Your team could suck. You're fighting for a playoff spot. You're in the playoff mix. You're on the outside looking in. You're a lot of hand wringing, hoping that your team can do it on this Sunday. How do you assess where the Patriots are now when the dynasty is clearly over and they've got a new frontier to explore?
Yeah, it's like you said, they've certainly come down to NFL earth anyway. I know you weren't born in this area, but I've lived in Massachusetts and Rhode Island my entire life. And I distinctly remember being 8 years old and going to my Uncle Dennis's house with my family and their friends and watching Super Bowl 20 because it was such a big deal that the Patriots squished the fish in the playoffs a couple weeks before, and they made it to the Super Bowl. They were destroyed promptly by the Chicago Bears, but that was like the high watermark.
They scored first.
What's that?
They scored first.
They scored
first in that game, though. They scored first.
And it was all downhill from there.
It was a field goal. That's right.
It was all downhill from there. But that was the high watermark of this franchise until Tom Brady takes over. And then it just becomes this, as you said, your middle child. And there are, people, even like kids in college who were born here who don't know anything but the Patriots being successful. And they don't understand that this is how it's supposed to be. It's just, I saw you play the highlight of the mistake. I'm flabbergasted. Like the lack, it's not even that it was a bad play. It was the lack of situational awareness from a Bill Belichick team. That is absolutely stunning. Like, how did you not just go down and play for overtime? You were around enough. I covered enough games. We were always waiting for the other team to make the stupid mistake, and they inevitably did because they just weren't as disciplined as the Patriots.
Right.
Bill Belichick,
That's
all
right.
we ever heard about was they would practice for every possible scenario because there was a 1 in 500 chance that this thing may happen. It was awful. It's just,
the throw.
It's the lack of situational awareness that is just beyond any. I can't believe that's where we are with the Patriots team.
Okay, so that's the question, because we know, and I said this to Michael Smith yesterday, Bill Belichick, there he is, always thinks of himself as a teacher first and foremost. I'm a teacher. I teach these guys. This is what I do. So when the teacher is not getting through, and I'm talking to a teacher right now, okay, if the teacher is not getting through to the class, and you've always gotten through, no matter what. You didn't always win the Super Bowl, but you've always gotten through to them. But now, this year in particular, you're not maximizing the talent on your roster. So what should happen? Do you blame the students, or do you say, maybe I lost my mojo? And for Bill Belichick, which one is it, in your opinion?
I think if we look at him as the teacher, but also as the principal, it's been a while since I've covered the Patriots on a regular basis, but I had people, emailing me 6, 7, 8 years ago saying Bill Belichick, the GM, should be replaced. They wanted to keep Bill Belichick, the coach. And I couldn't disagree with that. I think we can go back over the years, the draft picks and those sorts of things. But now his staff, like, for a man who it's all about what's best for the team, everybody has to earn it. Your 2 sons and your fail sons. Your staff is your 2 biological sons and many of your fail sons. And they're all, and the fail sons are cast in places they've never been cast in before. He's 71 now? 71? 70. It could 70, be.
Straight up 70.
It could. He used to say, I can't imagine being Marv Levy and coaching, beyond 70. And here we are. And maybe it has. Maybe, like, you just can't insulate yourself with the same people over and over. Like, I'm even seeing now people are like, we should bring back Bill O'Brien. Really? There's nobody new that you could bring in to maybe teach a new way? We're going to bring back somebody who's already been there and failed at multiple other places and bring him back. And then you're also hurting Mac Jones, if you do believe in him, because any new offensive coordinator that you bring in is potentially a third different way of doing things. And that's just not a recipe for success for a young quarterback. So it's the whole thing. It's really, I don't know that Robert Kraft would ever fire him, but I mean, it just seems like it's time for a fresh start.
Well, I'll tell you this, Shalise. Now, we are heard all over this great land. So chances are somebody listening to us is in a place where they say, good. I'm glad the Patriots are struggling. Because, I started to sing a while ago, props to Dave Chappelle. We'll talk about him later. But Chappelle had the players haters ball, right? And so I had the Patriots haters ball. And I remember talking to Jerome Bettis about it. I said, if we were to have the Patriots haters ball, what facility could we hold it? And Bettis said, you need some prairie lands. He said, we just need vast, we need space. He said, you ain't got enough space for what the kind of animus we have for the Patriots. So they've had a lot of enemies over the years. They held down. It was like it was not a sports dynasty. It was like a political dynasty. They just reigned. They occupied the NFL for a generation, and they had their scandals, they had their triumphs, and people just got sick of them. So I'm guessing, I don't know what you hear from people. I'm guessing that most of the people listening to us are happy that this is happening to the Patriots, and they were ecstatic that the Patriots lost in that fashion to the Raiders.
I am sure. I mean, I know, I think I saw Amy Trask, who used to be president of the Raiders and was president of the Raiders for that snow game and the tuck rule game. She was pretty, I saw a little bit of shout and fried from her on Twitter Sunday night, Monday morning. And, I totally understand it. The people who, as you said, because of Belichick, who, is as publicly, he's just so prickly. His public persona is so prickly. They had Deflategate. And that's on a good day. And they had Deflategate and Spygate, and then the winning. And I get it. I completely understand if I'm a fan of another team, especially a team that lost to them along the way, that you're loving seeing this collapse. Especially again, the Jets. How many problems have the Jets had over the years? The Bills are finally, ascending after 25 years of being in the doldrums of the NFL. And it's, when you look at the roster, when you look at the coaching staff, unless there's wholesale changes, you're not even sure how it's going to, it just doesn't seem like there's a quick fix. It's not like they're one or two players away and next year they're back, fourth, fifth seed or whatever the case may be.
And this is my next to last question for you. I don't feel like it should be a quick fix. And maybe I'm just looking at it all wrong. I'm looking at it all wrong. I feel like, okay, you grew up here. You grew up in the New England area. So you remember the aluminum seats at old Foxborough Stadium. You remember the bad teams and the scandals that they had the other way. They had scandals with Lisa Olson. They didn't want a woman in the locker room, and they were harassing, and there's all kinds of nastiness and craziness with the Patriots. So then you see them become this model franchise, at least on the field, and they give you 6 championships in a 20-year span. Okay, I feel like, all right, I got my championships. So it's okay if you let it slide down a bit to rebuild. What's wrong with a 2-year, not 5 years? Nobody gets 5 years now, I know. But what's wrong with the 2-year rebuild for the Patriots? It doesn't have to be, hey, next year we get right back in there and we're 13-4.
There's nothing right. Fans have to recognize that, as you said, they're a normal NFL team now. What they did for that stretch with Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, I don't know that it could ever be duplicated. I mean, of current quarterbacks and current teams, Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid probably could come close, possibly, but that's so much pressure and so ridiculous to be like, go win 6 championships in 15 years. It's like they set the bar so high, but now it's time. And it's, you've been around, I've been around. It seems crazy to say it's time to move on from Bill Belichick, but it might be time to move on from Bill Belichick. It just start fresh, put new blood in. I coach track and field, and after a long workout, I'll tell my kids to lay up and, lay on the floor and put their feet up against the wall and put, when they stand up again, it puts fresh blood in their legs. It might just be time for something like that with the Patriots. Just put some fresh blood in there and start new.
You know what I would say to you for that? I'd say, Coach, I like the lay on the floor part. I'm gonna stay on the floor. Now getting back and running. I don't like the running part, but I do. I'm gonna stay here can I stay here for like 35 minutes, 40 minutes right here, just take a little nap. Because running is not a strength of mine. All right, so final question for you. And it has been out there, and I just wonder how I'm working through how I feel about it. I'm wondering if it's ageism or not. So I hear a lot of people talking about Belichick's age. Came up here. So Belichick is the second oldest coach in football. Pete Carroll's the oldest by months. Mm-hmm. So I think Carroll may be 71 or almost 71. Belichick 70. He'd be 71 in April. Is it ageism to say it's time for him to move on just because of his birth certificate? Because I look at it this way. And maybe because I'm not 25 anymore, so now I'm a little more sensitive to this than I was like 15 years ago. Like if I'm 25, I'm like, yeah, that's right, get him out of here. Not 70s now, 50s old when you're 25, 40s old when you're 25, and then you say, oh, wait a minute, that's so young. I just know that, okay, maybe at 70, he's a senior coach in the league, but what I know is that you should know how to work better and smarter with age. You should have more wisdom, and you should have fewer insecurities. Because let's be honest, Shalise, some people back in the pre-pandemic days when people were in the office, everybody in the office wasn't working. They were in there because they're supposed to be there. And you don't want to leave before the boss and all that BS that people go through. So you should be past that, and you should know how to work better and smarter at 70. Is it time to go just because of performance? Or are we saying it's time to go because there's a 7 his number starts with a 7.
It's not the age. It's not strictly his age. Let's put it that way. I think that more than he just seems like he's wrapped himself in a cocoon of comfort. Like, who's pushing back on him on that staff? Who's his sons are going to push back on him and tell him he's wrong? Matt Patricia, who you gave a bone and gave another job after he was terrible in Detroit. Joe Judge, they're going to tell you you're wrong. Who is pushing back? Nick Caserio's gone now in the front office. I just don't think
he wasn't pushing back either.
Right. So I just don't think there's anybody in there that this man who for so many Wednesdays and Thursdays and Fridays of my life, it stood at a lectern and said it's all about the team and you got to make tough decisions sometimes. Who's pushing back on him? You've probably spoken to people for books that he used to welcome being challenged and he was always open to different positions. Who's doing that now? I just don't, even Gerard Mayo and Troy Brown played for him. I just don't know who is going to pound their fist on the table and be like, this is ridiculous. What are we doing? And that it's going to be welcomed and embraced and we'll see actual change. I just don't know who is going to do that. Like, everybody in that room owes their career or their life, in the case of his 2 sons, to Bill Belichick. Like, I just don't,
That's right.
I just don't see, it's not strictly the age. I think he just, somewhat amazingly to me, has gotten to a point, it's just too safe. It's too comfortable. And
it's a great point.
You have to be uncomfortable.
It is a great point. And maybe he welcomed that challenge before he got to 6. As a head, 6 titles as a head coach, 6 Super Bowls. Like, okay, just think about our profession. Think about the Pulitzer. Are you win 1 Pulitzer? You're humbled. You win 2? Okay, it feels pretty good. And listen, Shalise, if I win 6 Pulitzers, I'm not taking your calls. I'm sorry, it's not personal. I'm not taking your calls. You better go through my assistant. Who gonna challenge me on journalism? I got 6 Pulitzer Prizes.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, after a while, you just start smelling yourself. You feel like, hey, if I am challenged, they don't know what they're talking about. Why would they challenge me? Anyway, how disrespectful. But anyway, I mean, it's always great talking with you, Shalise. Appreciate the insight. And as I always say, you're welcome here anytime. Come hang out with us. One day when Michael Smith decides to come to work, all 3 of us will have a conversation.
Happy holidays, Michael.
Happy holidays to you and yours, too. Thank you.
What was your evaluation of Zach, Robert, after watching the film?
Thought he had a really nice first half. Came out, we started a little bit slow in the third quarter. Really pumped for him, though, because in the past when he's kind of hit a speed bump in a game, it kind of derails. But I thought he did a really good job of getting back on the rails and swinging back up in the fourth quarter to lead a touchdown drive. The frustrating thing is that, this kid's going to be a good quarterback. The NFL and this new instant coffee world that we're in just does not want to give people time. And so we look at him and he is just nitpicked with it and just with a fine tooth comb, everything that he does. And it's rightfully so. I mean, it is what it is, but he did a lot of really good things. And so we're going to try our best to focus on the things that he did good and make sure that we kind of bring that to life and we'll continue to work on the things that he needs to improve on. But, like I said, he came on the second half. I think we all agree he was missing on some throws. He was missing on some reads, but for him to kind of get himself back on track, I thought that was really good by him and a big step in a direction that he'd been struggling with in the past. And it just shows at least some maturation in my mind, with regards to mental fortitude in terms of getting back on track and finding a way to finish a game strong.
Mike Jones, I'm at a loss for words. I'm at a loss for words, Mike. First of all, good to see you, brother, always. Mike Jones from Athletic does a wonderful job. Wonderful job. Now, I tell you who did not do a wonderful job. That's Robert Saleh. In that press conference, Mike, he, as my grandmother said, he fixed his lips to say. He fixed his lips to say that, we're in this instant coffee age where, we want it all to happen so fast and we lack patience. We who? What do you mean we? Hey, well, Mike, wasn't it Robert Saleh who took the job? He benched Zach Wilson. So, what's he talking about?
Well,
you did it.
He meant we, because we, the Jets, are the ones who decided that it's time to bench this kid and play to win right now, even though we invested the number 2 overall pick in this kid. I was very much like, wait, just like you, right? Because, it's like, you weren't saying this a couple weeks ago when you pulled the plug on this guy. You weren't saying this when you saw that he needed more seasoning and was not ready to be a starter, and maybe should have had another veteran, playing ahead of him. And then now all of a sudden it's being nitpicked and things like that. Dude, you created this environment. You created this monster, and your locker room's part of it too, embracing Mike White and, cheering and everything. Like, the win now expectation was inside your whole organization. So you guys were not realistic with yourself. Don't lump us in on that. Yeah, the media asked questions and things like that, but you decided to play him and you decided to bench him. So, don't try to put it on us.
Yeah, exactly. I love the instant coffee line. I said yesterday, Robert Saleh, you are Mr. Coffee. I mean, you're the one. Yeah, you are the ringleader of this whole thing. You and general manager Joe Douglas. Now, and I like the Jets and I like their young core. I want futures. I got futures bets on the Jets, Jaguars, and Lions. I love all those teams. But I will say that I think the Jets are going to pay the price they're the one team that went away from their young quarterback. Those top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL of the 21 draft, the Niners didn't go away from Trey Lance. Trey Lance got hurt. They went with him maybe even too soon, but they gave him the reins. Trevor Lawrence, obviously number 1 pick. They didn't go away from Trevor Lawrence. The Bears with Justin Fields. For a while, I was wondering, can Justin Fields throw the ball? I mean, he was looking bad. They stayed with him. And the Patriots, through thick and thin, Mac Jones, he got hurt. But once he got back, Bailey Zappi to the bench. Here's Mac. Are the Jets, either this year or down the road, do you think they may have to move on from Zach because that breach, that trust has been broken?
Well, I think that we're not at the point of irreparable damage right now. But I do think that, okay, the first time that Zach starts to struggle, really struggle, he's going to be looking over his shoulder because he knows that they're not fully committed. They're invested, but there's because they went away from him. And that's what I didn't understand is that, okay, they had some big wins with him. He did some good things against Buffalo when they pulled off that surprise win there. And yes, I know it was an up and down, but you've got a young quarterback and you've got young pieces. And they acted like they had a veteran roster that's ready to win the Super Bowl right now. And that Mike White was the missing piece right there. I thought it was a mistake to go away from Zach Wilson. Look, how many games did they win since benching him? I do think that the confidence factor, now say Zach plays really well this coming week and he plays well again and he finishes the season off on a strong note, then hey, that's good. But there's going to be, once Mike White's healthy and they have a decision to make, there's going to be questions and you just don't know what that'll do to his mental state. And he's got to be strong. He's got to come out, keep slinging, keep working and everything like that. But it was like they created something unnecessarily because they almost didn't have a realistic view of themselves and kind of caved to some pressure. I guess maybe he was afraid of losing the locker room, but just be like, hey, this is our guy. When you have a perfect game, then talk to me. But we've got to go through this to get where we want to be. This is our guy.
All right, now let's talk about another organization that stuck with its quarterback and is paying the price or reaping the benefits of it, even though that quarterback is hurt. No pun intended. We're talking about Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia. I still think he's going to be the MVP. He's done enough. He's put enough on tape. Even if he misses a game, I think he's going to be the MVP of the league. How do you see this game if you don't have Hurts and you're playing the Cowboys on Christmas Eve? How do you see this game playing out without Hurts?
Well, the good thing is that Gardner Minshew will sling the ball around. The good thing is they've got a dynamic wide receiver tandem with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. They've got a good running game. They've got the best offensive line in football. They've got a fantastic defense. I think it's like 6 guys with 6 sacks or more along that defensive front. Fantastic secondary. Gardner Minshew should be okay in this spot here. And I feel like if Gardner Minshew plays okay and they win against Dallas, that almost hurts Jalen Hurts in the MVP runnings just a little bit. Because
you think so?
Look what he's got. Look what he's got to work with. And then look at Patrick Mahomes, who lost Tyreek Hill, who doesn't have a great defense, who has no margin for error in what he's been able to do there. So I'm not saying that Jalen Hurts won't win the MVP. But I've got Mahomes by a smidgen ahead of him because he does not have A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and, all that quality line and defense to work with. But then again, if Gardner Minshew goes out there, slings it around, they win a big divisional game, then you're kind of like, Jalen Hurts has done great. Yes, the rushing touchdown record for a quarterback is right there within reach. He's got 13. Cam Newton had 14. But again, he's got a lot of great talent around him. Yes, he has worked hard to elevate his game, but it's not like he's working with nothing. Like Lamar Jackson, as we've seen in years past, had to put that team on his back. Jalen Hurts is doing great stuff, but he has not got a skeleton staff that he's working with as, maybe, the Ravens have been, or not like the wide receiver tandem of Kansas City right now. I mean, come on. You got Juju Smith-Schuster, you got Valdez Scantling, you got everybody's getting hurt here and there, and Mahomes keeps them afloat. They don't have any number 1 wide receivers out there. Outside of Travis Kelce, there's not a number 1 that he's throwing to, and their offense keeps on humming.
Michael Muhammad Jones. What are you I don't even know if that's your middle name. I'm just saying that. No, Mike Jones. What are you talking about? Listen, I think any MVP candidate, Mike, has a lot around him. I mean, this is not the NBA. We got one guy carrying like a mediocre roster. Who's got a mediocre roster? Not Kansas City, not Dallas.
Hey, but look, take Patrick Mahomes off of that team and wear the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, the Chiefs
take Josh Allen.
Hey, the Chiefs have won 7 straight division titles, so they got a lot more than Patrick Mahomes. They got a lot more than Mahomes.
Take Josh Allen off of that team and where's Buffalo?
Okay, that's different.
Okay.
But no.
Take Jalen Hurts off of that. No. Take Jalen Hurts off of his team, and what does Philadelphia have?
They're not the number 1 seed. You think they'd be the number 1 seed without Jalen Hurts?
Maybe not.
Number 1.
But I think that they might be okay with Gardner Minshew. The guy can do a lot.
A lot of teams.
But again, look, if you look at what
conversations, though.
But I'm saying, if you're talking about, if you take these guys away, the Chiefs are not very good. The Bills are not very good.
They're not. So not making the playoffs, if you have Josh Allen, if you go to the backup, Josh Allen to backup, Mahomes to backup, Hurts to backup, the Eagles make the playoffs, and the other 2 are what, 6 and 11?
They might be. They're just sniffing around. They're sniffing around. Come on, man. Like, seriously, who's the backup in Buffalo that you feel great about? Case Keenum? Is he going to make them a playoff team when they can't run the football? He's not going to pull off those 62-yard angry runs that Josh Allen does.
Yeah, I mean, that's right, man. How about that 44
I mean, who's the backup to Mahomes? I mean, he's not going to do the stuff that he does, but you have a strong run game and a dynamic defense. You can still do a lot in Philadelphia. Now, again, Jalen Hurts, fantastic story, fantastic growth and everything, but I just have him a hair behind Mahomes in this MVP race, and I think that this week will show us a lot of how quality their depth is all around and the talent and everything, and we'll see without him what they're able to do against Dallas.
See now,
this is the truth teller. This is the truth teller. This is the truth teller game.
This is what you're making me do because I want Jalen Hurts to be the MVP. Now you're making me root against Gardner Minshew to elevate Jalen Hurts. And I don't like to live like that. I don't want to live in that space. Like I'm just going to hate on somebody because I want somebody else to thrive. But it's voters like you have made me do this. You've made me do this, Mike. I'm going to blame you. Anyway, I got one more question for you.
Okay.
And it surrounds the one and only Aaron Rodgers. And I put in the feed that Aaron Rodgers is going to have some regrets after this year. They're 6-8. They beat the Rams last night, Monday Night Football. And I think the regrets that he'll have is not really being invested sooner in these wide receivers and working with them sooner and coming around to the OTAs and making sure they were on board. Because you know what? These guys look pretty good now. The young receivers that he called out earlier in the year, they look pretty good. And if he had been around, hey, maybe they got 2 more wins. Maybe they're 8-6 instead of 6-8 and firmly in the NFC playoff mix. What do you think?
No, I agree with you there because, I mean, it took their wide receivers basically half a season to figure out what Rodgers wanted from them. I did not hear about Aaron Rodgers holding any passing camps, down in the islands or some sunny, warm place in the offseason to get on the same page with his young wide receivers. You don't hear stuff about him going out of his way to elevate their game and to work on that chemistry. Now they definitely are on the same page, and it's great for them. But I agree with you, there will be regrets. I mean, I think that one of his regrets will be not standing on the table for Devontae Adams, but then the other one is not really working to get these kids coached up at the rate, because we're seeing it now. It just, could you have done something? For sure. 100% agree with you. You are so wrong on the MVP talk, but you are spot on with this observation right here.
And now, and I just thought of this. on the MVP thing. So this is what you made me do. So Mike, I thought you were a man of peace. I thought we were vibing. I thought we were cool. So now you've made me root against Gardner Minshew. And I also have to root against Patrick Mahomes, because Mahomes is your leader by, what'd you say, by a smidge? What word did you use?
Maybe it was a smidge, a hair, a titch, something like that. I can't remember what it said. Something. But yeah, so something now, neither one of us have.
Yeah, that's right. Now I got to hate on Mahomes and Minshew. Anybody else? You probably have Hurts third. He's not even second on your list.
I have him number 2. I have him number 2.
Okay.
I have him number 2, and then I'll have Josh Allen after that. But again, if they had Tyreek Hill still, I would say, Patrick Mahomes still got a loaded squad. Jalen Hurts, go. But losing what he did and the revolving door, all the injuries that they've dealt with at the skill position, that, and they're still, and the way that their defense is so Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, and they're out there, I know you can argue he lost to Josh Allen, lost to Joe Burrow, but still, Mahomes.
And Joe Burrow should be in the conversation too.
He should be, because he's got an awful offensive line that he's working with, and he's had injuries that he's dealt with as well. So yeah, I mean, I think the 5 guys are Mahomes, Hurts, Allen, Burrow, and then Tua by a distance.
Okay, Mike Jones.
Some people would say some people would say Geno Smith. Say what? But Geno Smith.
Oh, that was like a month ago. That was a month ago.
Yeah, but it's still,
he was doing all right. Now he's, Geno's
coming back down to earth.
Most improved comeback story, one of those. But
he's made himself some money.
He has contract year. Hey man, always great talking with you. So we'll check in with you when the MVP is announced. Okay, at the Super Bowl MVP night.
We'll put a pin in this right here.
Let's see if your downgrading of Jalen Hurts actually hurts him on awards night. I hope he comes looking for you.
We'll see what Gardner Minshew does.
I know. He'll be fine. They'll win the game. Whether Minshew plays well or not, they're going to beat the Cowboys. That's my prediction. Christmas Eve, they'll beat them by a touchdown.
All right.
Good to see you, Mike.
See you.
Gee, I'll talk to you this week.
Well, you were injured all year.
What have you done for us to talk to you about all year? I talked to you Tuesday. Just don't say you're not talking because I didn't talk to you all year.
You were also injured most of the season too.
Just relax. Can I go to my family that I have outside? And
You
all
can.
of a sudden now?
Just don't say we didn't talk to you all year.
We just wanted to ask for your perspective on what happened
You're
there.
involved in one of the biggest plays of the game.
Okay.
Thank you, Jew.
I appreciate your time. We do.
We won't hold you.
We would have talked to you in the season, but also you were injured.
Just tell us what occurred on the punt.
Miscommunication, that's all it was on my part. I take complete fault for that.
Was it a fake?
I don't know. It was complete fault. My fault. That's it.
Is this something the team hasn't practiced
It's
this
all
week?
me. All me. That's something I did wrong, and that's all.
So you
It
weren't
was all
aware?
on me. Yep, number 25 out there. That was me. I was the one that did it.
But were you aware
It
that
was
it was
just
a
me.
fake?
Yeah, I messed up.
I understand that, but we're just asking if you knew it was.
I
We
messed
just
up.
didn't know if it was a communication
Yeah, I
breakdown.
messed up.
Thanks, Jew.
Yep. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Oh, we always love to have these moments, these media moments. You know, we're passionate about this stuff. I always feel like this. I always feel that the relationship between reporters and especially in sports, reporters and athletes, it can be tense. Sometimes it needs to be tense because we have two different jobs. When you throw in a PR person, it's really two different jobs. Media members are trying to get information, trying to get as much information as they can. Sometimes when the PR filter is in there, they're filtering information, trying to hold back the real thing or trying to manage it and frame it in a certain way. I understand there's going to be tension. You know what though? I'm going to surprise y'all. I think some of y'all. I'm going to surprise y'all. So the first time I wrote an article and got paid for it. First time I wrote an article, got paid for it, I was 19. I'm not 19. So it's been a while. I love journalism. I love journalists. I'm passionate about this business. I'm so glad. It's the only job I've ever wanted to do. But in this case, I'm on Gio's side. I'm on Gio's side. And not that he should have blown off the reporters, but why couldn't they just have one spokesperson? Why we got the whole mob out there? Hey, wait a minute. You've been injured all year. Wait a minute. Oh, no. We tried to talk to you before. What you talking about? Hey, blah, blah, blah. Hey. All you have to say is, hey, Gio, we need to talk to you. You were involved in the key play in the game. One person. All it takes is one. It don't take 8 of y'all. One person who says, we need to talk to you. And do you have a couple of minutes? And that's it. Then you do the interview. So I didn't like the approach. And as I said, it's about relationships. You ain't got to be friends. I'm not saying that's your buddy, but have some type of professional respect back and forth, and you can get the job done. That's one. Two, Gio Bernard, wasn't feeling them. He wasn't feeling. Now, some guys aren't feeling you, and I'm surprised, frankly, that he stayed for the interview. Because that look, maybe I'm misinterpreting it. Can we bring that look up again? At the beginning of the interview? No, not this one. No, this is the B-roll of Gio Bernard. No sound of him just looking at the reporters. That look is like, oh, what's all this? Whoa, what's all this energy? What y'all doing? Here it is. He's like, what? So some people ain't feeling you and they don't give you the interview. Gio stayed and he gave a bunch of cliches. He did what we always ask for, take responsibility, be accountable. He didn't give any insight, but he said it was his fault. In this case, I'm with the athlete here. I think the reporters could have handled it better. I know cliches. We got a job to do, and it's our job to get information to satisfy the fans. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. I got it. There's a better way of doing it, and that's the play where Gio Bernard said he missed punt block. He was on punt block responsibility. He blew it, and that was part of the reason the Buccaneers didn't beat the Cincinnati Bengals. The other reason the Buccaneers didn't beat the Bengals? Because the Bucs ain't good. They're not good. That's why. They're not a good team. They're 6-8 for a reason. And they're still not going to win their division. Anyway, let's go on to the next story. Another quick story I want to run by you guys. And this happened over the weekend. I was a little unsettled by this one. This is Ja Morant. So Ja Morant is involved in an incident during a game. So he already has one technical in the game. Then he gets his second technical. And he's thrown out of the game. He's having a conversation with a fan. Then he's thrown out of the game. So I'm watching this, and I didn't have any information. I'm Googling just like everybody else, like, why was Ja Morant thrown out of this game? And you know what the answer is? You know the real answer? The real answer is the official said he questioned, Ja did. Ja questioned the official's integrity to a fan. So hold on, bro. I'm having a private conversation about you to a fan. What you doing up in my conversation? Stop dipping in my conversation. You're eavesdropping. Yeah, I'm talking about you. Look, there are certain jobs where you got to expect people are going to talk about you. Being a member of the sports media is one of them. You give a lot of opinions on sports. A lot of people agree with you. A lot of people disagree. They're going to talk about you. You can't take it all. You can't have rabbit ears. You got to move on. When you're an official and you're making decisions throughout a game, people are going to say something about it. When you're a boss, you're somebody's boss, you know what they do after work? I don't know if y'all know this, if you're a boss. A lot of them get together after work, they have drinks, and they talk about you. It's all right. That's part of the gig. So Ja Morant is talking to a fan. Officials like, oh, what you say? Oh, you can't say that. You're questioning my integrity. Lighten up. See, some of these officials shouldn't have the job. You ain't got the skin for it. You ain't got the mentality for it. You don't have the metal for it. If every time somebody says something, you're gonna get all up in your feelings. And I didn't even mention the official, and I like this brother. No pun intended, Tony Brothers. I like him. But when he was calling players some names, when he was calling them like I can't say it right now. I can't say what he called a player. Come on. You can't do that. You got to expect. You should go into a game understanding that they're going to say something about you, and it might hurt your little feelings. You know, can I tell you guys a secret? Let me tell you a secret before we get out of here. I told you as a sports writer for, okay, I'll tell you the year, 33 years. I've been a sports writer for 33 years. Sports writer, sports journalist, sports broadcaster, whatever you want to call it. My secret to dealing with criticism is that I anticipate it. Now, some people think that's negative. I think that's intelligent. I anticipate the criticism. I think about all the things you might say about a brother. So when somebody actually says it, I've already thought it through. So I'm good. It's okay. Move on. You got to know what's coming and don't get so caught up in your feelings. All right, last thing. This story blows my mind. Dave Chappelle. Remember Dave Chappelle? I think it was at the Hollywood Bowl. If I'm mistaken, somebody fact check me. But I think it was the Hollywood Bowl in L.A. He was attacked on stage by a so-called fan. Well, that fan was finally sentenced 270 days of jail time for attacking Dave Chappelle. And I just wish that would happen more. I wish that would happen more. We never hear about that in sports. People running on the field, doing all kinds of crazy stuff. 270 days of jail time. And there's another story. There's another story with this fan that we'll talk about tomorrow. Really interesting twist. Hey, thanks for hanging out. Brother from Another. We'll see you tomorrow. Hey, thanks for watching Brother from Another on YouTube. Make sure you hit subscribe before you leave, and be sure to watch us 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Peacock. Appreciate you.